Okay, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me. I have the prayer for elected leadership that I will read. Oh God, give us strong, wise, compassionate leaders. Send us leaders with truthful hearts and impassioned spirits, who will stand for justice and freedom for all. Give us leaders who will unite with other leaders to bring about a kinder, more peaceful world. Leaders who will support their coworkers during times of challenge and change. Give us leaders who are servants of the people, listening, encouraging, caring for all races, creeds, and cultures, welcoming those seeking asylum, providing a safe place for all to thrive. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Did you have public comment? No. Okay. All right, seeing none, approval of the minutes. Did you guys have an opportunity to read the minutes from Tuesday, May 21st, 2024?
Yeah.
Okay, if so, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Rivas?
Yeah, I just have one thing today. I wanted to announce the countywide blood drive. There was information on the Atchison County Facebook page, I think on the website. So it's this Friday, it's Friday, May 31st from 1 to 5 in Memorial Hall. So I'm gonna give a little blood. We appreciate it.
Has been put on
It is on
media, and she's gonna repost it.
Okay, so it'll be reposted. So you get the information there.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that the fair, Atchison County Fair is having a fundraiser this weekend, June 1st. There's a lunch provided by Lightning for 4-H Club.
Yeah, I think that's what
There's vendors, I don't have all of the facts right here with me. I was a little ill prepared for this. There's a dance at 8 p.m. So if you want to go to the Atchison County website, it should be added to that, and it should be on the fair's website of the different things that are available. So
Yep, it's
Go
been shared
support.
on Atchison County, so got a
Okay.
confirmation.
So go support our local fair. Thank you.
I just had one question about our agenda today. So at 10:30 for the road and bridge facility, are we ready to do that in open session since the last like one was workshop, but I've had questions about it and I just wondered, is that something that we can just have in our open session today?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. I have no other comments. New business, Mark Zeltner, Finance Director, purchase order, which I have.
I just have a purchase order to pay Ensign or Atchison Senior Village, the funds that they received. So we put it in the holding account for them and then we write them checks.
Okay, so I have a purchase order as presented from our Finance Director in the amount of $34,338.61. That is being paid to Atchison Senior Village out of the Senior Village Pass-Through Fund for the 2024 and 2025 to pay out, 2024-5 to pay out Senior Village monies received from Ensign. That is after the sale date of services. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Say,
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is, oh, sorry, I'll let you sign and get that back. We have time.
I think, should we wait until 10:15 for
Oh,
Walnut
sure.
Township because
case other people
we,
were wanting
yeah,
to.
because someone's,
Did you say? public
I did.
comment?
Yeah.
Okay,
I did.
was-
Yep.
Respond to something.
because we said we'd take them up until
Yep, 10:15 or
10:15.
when we appoint. So yeah, that sounds great. We can do that.
did we have one letter of interest so far?
Yes, that's all we've had so far. I also have, I'm gonna move this up. So I have a letter, on behalf of the finance director and our county treasurer, that would like us to consider a temporary percentage allocation of the countywide sales tax for the months of May, June, July. We've had more expenses in solid waste than joint communications. So for those months, they're proposing to allow the chair to sign this letter in agreement with both county treasurer and finance director, allocating 90% of the countywide sales tax dedicated fund to go to solid waste fund 202 and 10% joint communications, the dispatch fund of 205. The temporary percentage allocation will allow receiving funds to be more aligned based on current budget spending. And the percentage split occurs each time a transfer is made to each of these funds from the dedicated countywide sales tax fund 997. Upon the completed July 2024 transfer, then the percentage allocation will return to how it was previously authorized. Which was 45% solid waste and 55% joint communications. So do I have a motion to allow the chair to sign this along with the county clerk in agreement with the recommendation from finance director and county treasurer?
Some,
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion?
it just basically rebalance everything to get back where.
Yeah.
Appropriate balance, so.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes. 3-0.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Just one signature.
Yeah, just the. just-
You're unfinished business, maybe discuss that e-store issue again, some later on, or you would do it now, probably later on.
Yeah, we can do it later on.
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
just saying, because you discussed that with them, so. Still, I don't know. No place to get. Yeah. Look at the. Drawer, that's what they're called. There you go.
I have a question to ask you guys.
Yep.
So the state has issued the county workbooks and they're able to be developed now. So I'm almost completed with it on a preliminary status. So if, what do you guys say about next Tuesday, having a little walkthrough preliminarily to see how the numbers shake out?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Just to, with the numbers that we have from departments and Joe's not gonna be here next week, and you're gonna be gone the week after.
Mhm.
So it looks like June 18th is the next date that we could do road and bridge budget. Which I know is a little bit further away, but if we know what the numbers are right now, like using 24's budget numbers, we can kind of maybe play around with it to see what it would do in anticipation of what he has to provide to us. And if you want to, we can do that. Jack with dispatch is gonna come June 4th and do that budget for joint communications, so I'll just have something prepared for you.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Regarding that meeting, on the 11th, you can't be here, right?
Correct.
Are you gone that whole week?
Just till Thursday. Yes, so basically,
I don't know if you want to try to do a different day, if that will work, that's fine, I'm just curious.
yeah,
If you're gone on Monday, and that's confused, so it wouldn't matter.
yeah,
Okay. Eric and I'll make a bunch of decisions.
you will got a copy of the letter emails to you, so you have an
Yes.
opportunity to read it.
Yes.
The letter for consideration. Okay, it is 10:15, and based on our agenda, that is when we were going to consider the letters of interest for Walnut Township Treasurer, and possibly appoint, this vacancy. So we currently have one letter, that was sent to us May 20th, 2024. Attention Atchison County Commissioners, Walnut Township Treasurer, regarding Walnut Township Treasurer position. Commissioners, my name is Janet Umpenauer, and I'm reaching out to you in response to the request for letters of interest for the position of Walnut Township Treasurer. I've also filled out the necessary paperwork for the upcoming November 2024 election for this position. I've worked at Exchange Bank and Trust for over 23 years in many areas of the bank. I was in the teller line for 20 years, where I was the vault teller and head teller. I assisted with new accounts processes, as well as many bookkeeping duties. My most recent position is as the electronic banking officer, and I am also vice president in operations. Along with Branson Dame, I have helped raise 6 children, and now our family is extended by a son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and 2 beautiful grandchildren. Our community is very important to us, and we have put a lot of work into cleaning up Atchison County and Walnut Township. Well, Branson has done the work, but I've been very supportive. I feel that my experiences both at EBT and in personal life would be beneficial to the Walnut Township Board. I believe I can bring some professionalism, common sense, and emotional intelligence to a tense situation where people have been making decisions based off their feelings versus what is in the best interest of everyone. I appreciate your time and consideration. Janet Umpenauer. I would look for a motion to appoint Janet Umpenauer as the Walnut Township Treasurer.
Was you here for this today?
Or
Was you here for the
Yeah,
Walnut Township discussion? Okay. I
Yeah,
just wanted to see if you,
yeah, I would move to nominate Janet for that position.
Okay, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I think she is an outstanding choice.
And I think her letter kind of speaks for itself on
Yeah.
her
Yeah, she indicates,
qualifications, as well as seeing what's went on with Walnut for long enough that she's ready to help.
she's done the paperwork to file, but has she filed yet?
Yes, she has.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yes.
We'll make sure.
And can I add one other thing? She did email me this morning. They're a little behind at work as far as yesterday they were off, so they're trying to catch up today, and they're a little short staffed. Or she would have been here. She just doesn't want you to think she's not interested.
Oh,
Okay,
So
I appreciate it.
she's very interested, so she just didn't think she could make it down.
okay, perfect. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We will appoint Janet Umpenauer as the new Walnut Township Treasurer until the election in November, and you'll see her name on the ballot as well. So, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. We're so ahead of schedule, so.
Could we go ahead and discuss the East doors?
Oh, sure, that's fine. So last week, it was on the agenda to discuss those. It was not intentional by any means, of checking in with the main floor. Everyone on the main floor, well, I think the treasurer said she was here last week, which pointed out making sure that we check with the 3rd floor, which I was able to do this morning. Checked with the county attorney and the courts, and everyone is happy to get the fobs put on, and they feel that they have 0 issues with opening the east doors back up. They actually think that they hear many concerns up there of people that have tried the east doors and then have to go back down and walk all the way around. So they're excited to maybe alleviate some of the concern that they get for being unexpectedly locked when people try to access them. So, didn't know how you want to move forward. I think the timeline for maintenance, was it June 4th or June 6th that he said that he would have the fobs installed? The 6th?
I think he said the 6th.
I thought it was the 6th.
Probably should err on that side of caution.
Yeah,
But just once those are on, he may want to double check those doors and make sure the signage is right and all that. We all pin on the,
Did you say anything to them about when they're under construction, whether that would be an issue? I mean, you know, I would rather,
they might need those doors, to carry things in.
I just, that was the only other thought was
I
that,
mean, they had a roundtable group this morning that everybody seemed to be,
and I'm fine with that. I would check with maintenance and when gives the go. Now, do we have to vote on a change or is that?
how did we handle that last time?
I think you just stated it, somebody made a motion and you voted on it. So
And then we just locked them after that meeting, so we just do the same thing.
Okay.
So I would move to open these doors as soon as our maintenance director. Is able to get all the fobs installed and get and check those entrances.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. You got the information or the email that I sent the apology to the anonymous gal that we didn't respond to. Jody was correcting our commissioners because it said commission at atgo K.S.org.
Mhm.
That's why we didn't receive it. But I just want to make sure you got that because she sent photos to you of the issue.
I didn't know where that origin of that was, so I don't know whether I deleted them, because I thought it was,
That's okay.
I was to
I
the
can
point where.
forward it to you again. She just sent a bunch of photos for you. So it went to you and Martha.
Okay, what I saw is like that, something didn't ring a bell or anything,
No,
so
you're
I
fine.
chose not to open it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
now that
the-
you said photos, it's like, yeah, I should have.
That's okay. I should, yeah, I still have them. I'll forward them to you.
Okay, thank you.
Those are photos on what? Violations or the.
It was the anonymous, well, it wasn't anonymous. She filled her information out.
Yeah.
But, the concern of, the trailer park on Pratt Road.
So that.
So the email we received is legit, so. Corey. Just be careful about clicking that.
Yeah, that was. Otter AI thing, I saw that. Might text him and ask him clips.
Doesn't really sound like him.
No.
Okay, so I'm adding a executive session today. At 1:45.
Sounds like we need to be right on top of the time.
Yep, so, and that should be fine, because we have a budget workshop from 12:30, I mean, we could. I wonder how long.
And
Well,
that budget workshop you can push out. I mean.
Yeah, so- we will have commissioners, HR, and county counselor.
For that,
Yep,
would that also be? Appraiser?
oh, yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I'm reading the email and writing it, but yes, appraiser, HR, county counselors, three. So we pencil that one in.
And how long?
Let's,
say?
we can clarify with her, but probably at least 30. It's,
She is getting on. If you need to.
oh,
She should be doing this.
I'll just shoot her a quick how long, real quick. We'll know that. Morning, guys. Welcome back. We're good, so if you guys want to get set up and.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're ahead of schedule.
The pictures that you sent,
Yep.
have you sent them to Martha?
Yes,
Okay,
so the original email was you, Martha, and Pat. So they have those.
okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that.
Yep.
Everybody's getting everything they need to. So,
I think I might move over a little, so you guys can have some more room.
Yeah.
Need it.
You're fine if you like to, although you might be able to see better if you move.
If you want to angle that whole easel a little bit, the camera's here,
Oh,
so just a little, might be a little bit better for people trying to zoom in and see
Like that?
some. Yeah, we can post things later on.
Okay, and you can all see that okay for us?
And we'll have these in front of us, right? So, yeah, we can follow along.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That, we wait to go to return?
Yeah, probably.
He comes in, just say, well, we're all done.
Yeah. Looks like the community's fared well with the storms that recently came through the last couple weeks.
It's kind of split a little bit. We got a little wind, but not as much as they thought we would, I would think. I mean, we had some limbs down and stuff.
Well, that's good. Good to always amend words.
Yeah, so.
Well, we want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to present today during this work session, improvements, modifications to the Atchison County Public Works Facility. We've done some work on a site plan that we've kind of coordinated with Joe and his team, and then also the building footprint itself. What I want to do is kind of hand over to Grant Urban, our design architect, kind of talk to the changes that we've made. I've had him lead that discussion change and design change on this. And with that, I think, Grant, if you want to kind of walk commissioners through the changes.
So you guys have a smaller copy, obviously, of what we have shown here. So to kind of give a quick summary of what was changed from the last time that we met. What we've done is we've relocated the shop building south of the intersecting drive, so that we've pushed a lot of the site components to the north of the shop per the previous request. So what that's done is we've made sure that you can see through these kind of U-shaped lines here, those are truck turnaround radiuses for their largest vehicle, which would be the motor grader, making sure that all the radiuses look appropriate for the site that we have shown here. So vehicles to be able to pull in through this intersecting drive right across from Party Road, and be able to, employees park their vehicles just to the west of the shop. And then also a cantilever gate entry for deliveries and larger equipment to go through straight to the east. And then be able to turn to the south and be able to drive, pull through the building for the layout that we have shown for the building itself. In the opposite direction, if you turn to the north, we have an equipment shed that's about 200 by 50 or 60. That would be used for equipment, and then they'd be able to pull out of the open face of the east of the facility, pull their equipment in and out of the east. This also keeps a lot of that south dusty wind in the summertime that is always a concern out of the facilities and out of the shop building as well, since it's pushed to the southernmost area of the property. And then kind of flanking the east side of the yard that's enclosed with a perimeter fencing would be rock piles, dirt piles, culverts, and then to the north, bridge plank and piling, and then to the west, salt dome and tailgate and hopper storage areas. One other thing that's important to note would be the fuel island that's located just to the south of the equipment shed. That's right off as you enter into the secured yard area. You'd be able to fill up right there south of the equipment shed, north of the shop building, but still be out of the way of other traffic and other vehicular movement through the site. So there is, as we talked about in the last meeting, a northern approach as well. That would be able to be used by all of the personnel with clearance, of course, to be able to access the north part of the yard. without needing to congest southern portion of the shop area. So that's the majority of the changes and the updates to the site plan. As far as the floor plan, which is on the next document. The layout has been expanded slightly from 80-foot wide to a 90-foot wide. And what that allowed for is a larger chemical storage room and a little bit larger weed and shop office. That allows for this space to be accessed through a pull-through for 10 by 10 overhead doors for vehicles to, load and unload chemicals as part of that process. Another big change was we reincorporated the wash bay as part of this initial master planning effort. Of course, that would be built via an expandable end wall along this if it wasn't determined to be built as part of that first phase of construction. But it is incorporated into the overall plan. There's 2 through bays that would be clear areas for vehicles to pull through. The third bay is split into 2. Half of that would be able to be separated off via suspended welding curtain. That would allow for welding operations and tire machines to be housed in that area. And then the southern portion would be able to house a 4-post lift for vehicle maintenance. Along that east wall of that shop, we have lubricant storage shelves as well as workbench areas for the welding area. And that would be able to be used at all times for those types of operations. As far as the layout of the rest of the office space is concerned, it didn't change dramatically. What was flipped around is we did have the office manager a little bit further to the east, and we flipped the superintendent and office manager. That would better help the operations of Road and Bridge for their needs. We also expanded the locker room slightly to accommodate 20 full-size lockers. Those would be 6 foot high by 18 by 18 wide. That would be able to be used by the crew. The restroom layout didn't change. Lastly, one of the big major changes was that we added a hallway between the conference room and the shop area that would keep the crew out of the main finished office area. So that, of course, if they're trekking muddy boots through, they use their dedicated hallway instead of coming through the more public hallway. So up on the mezzanine, the intent of the mezzanine really hasn't changed. It's used for a lot of storage. We still have a mechanical room up there that will serve the mechanical systems of the rest of the building, a file storage room, as well as a sign storage area, part storage area. And what did get changed is that we previously had the tire storage on the lower level. That's now being accessed via the mezzanine as well, which it was determined that there would be able to be a little bit of better access through the tire storage operation, being able to access that mezzanine with larger equipment. So if that's needed, that is something that can be incorporated into the design. With that, I think that really covers the updates. You'll see the other documents that you have is the updated programming worksheet, which is just accommodating the updated square footage values. And then also the program outline or the scope document, which just explains in more detail what room by room, everything that's being incorporated, as far as the elements that are in each of those spaces, not necessarily the size description, but the actual description of what it's being used for, and components that would be furnished by the contractor or by the county. And then the third document attached is our updated opinion of costs, and we just have that in there to continue to refine as we define the scope and the program of the building and the site, making sure that we're in alignment with costs and current market values for the scope that we're showing.
Our intent on the deliverable of the final documentation will include documents that show both the site plan and the floor plans as are being shown currently. But it will also be a report that will identify all these items kind of compressed together in an organized fashion that will kind of identify the need of the facilities, the programs, the costs, and associated elements regarding that.
So what about finishings, like in the conference area, offices, is that already carpeted or?
Yeah, so the last page
It's-
of the programming document,
This-
where it's called the other one, the scope and outline. On the back page of that, it should have a section on finishes.
Oh, okay, I didn't
And
see
that,
that.
and that just describes what level of finish we would expect in each of the rooms. So for example, the shop, that's just gonna get a sealed concrete floor. It's gonna come with corrosion inhibitor in the concrete for obviously the salt that's gonna get on the floor and things of that nature. But you know, in the office spaces, that's gonna be more of a higher level of finish with ACT ceilings and maybe carpet on the floors or a hard laminate surfacing or something of that nature. We could also do like an epoxy floor. We've seen that be very, very highly durable, easy to clean in shop situations where you do have a lot of traffic and muddy boots and things like that. So we do see that, and that could be carried through even to the offices too, if the epoxy finish is desired over a carpet just due to maintenance and the collection of dust and dirt, then that's something that we could obviously consider as well. But definitely a higher level of finish in this western portion of the facility than in the eastern portion of the facility, which is outlined in the opinion of cost. You'll see that there's a different cost for the higher level of finish of the office versus the rest of the space is a lower cost per square foot.
Council is the chemical room.
It depends on what we determine the total sidewall height of the facility to be. Since we do incorporate a mezzanine, we probably wouldn't want the top finished floor of the mezzanine any lower than about 13 or 14 feet, so that we have about 2-foot plenum. And then below that, you'll have about an 11-foot ceiling, so to say, which would accommodate your 10-foot overhead door.
So we would have 10, we would have at least 10.
10-foot clear, yeah. But then of course, you'd have a little bit of space for
Right.
joists. And so you have a little bit more space, but it's going to be interrupted with the structure.
If there's a desire for a full height or dual story height in that particular area, we can modify the tire storage area so that it doesn't extend all the way over the chemical storage.
Yeah,
room. We've done that in some other
Yeah.
facilities. as
Where
well.
this room is double height and you just take it out of your.
So it'd be more in that scenario, more like 24 to 26 feet on height if you were to remove the mezzanine from that one portion.
So a couple of things that we talked about since, from our first meeting, and I was just making sure it's accounted for, was, and I see on the drawing, it shows proposed fencing. Are the fencing costs? It's within this, and then also the electrical connection is the same as what we visited on the first, and the first one, you guys were doing overhead, but we said that you would want it all underground.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not. And then perimeter lighting is all.
Yeah, so that still needs to be updated. The electrical connection.
So then my other question is going in and out of the shop, we do have the semis, 2 of them, will they be able to make those turns?
We'll get with you and determine what the type of vehicle or what the type of semi is, and we'll show that turn radius on the site plan as well. If we need to modify this southern portion or move a rock pile or something like that to accommodate an extra radius, that shouldn't be an issue.
Commissioner, to answer your question, also regarding fencing, fencing is not yet integrated into the opinion of costs.
Okay.
We wanted to confirm the configuration of the fencing out enclosure, which is this kind of darker dashed line right here. And then the 2 gate locations. If this is acceptable as far as configuration, will account for the linear foot fencing in that configuration. That allows kind of a public zone right here where again, the employees can park and visitors that come to the facility, they would not be within the fenced enclosure. The rest of this enclosure would encompass all the other needs within your site.
When we send the digital files later today, I'll make sure we hit the fencing and the updated electrical out into that.
Okay, and then all the areas shown for gravel, how deep are you guys figuring your gravel on the parking lots?
Yeah, generally we do either a 4-inch or 6-inch AB3 surfacing. That would be fairly standard.
I think this is accounting, I think that this is kind of for 6-inch.
6-inch.
Okay.
Based on the cost that the engineers provided for us.
Is there an estimate of what the total footprint of that acre wise would be? Like the total fence area or that the fenced area plus the parking lot towards there, what that footprint would actually be.
Plus this parking and this gravel.
Yeah, everything there that is designated as road and bridge, I just wondered what that
How
Yeah,
many,
total footprint.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but like I said, well, it's all scaled, so we'll be able to pull that information really easily.
yeah,
I like this configuration much better. The only thing. There's been speculation of what might come in the future, what possible needs could be from even not necessarily road and bridge, but other entities or like storage for the sheriff or things like that. And I was wondering, it's almost locked in, everything is road and bridge with all the gravel piles and everything accounted to. I mean, where would that be? I mean, to go beyond that,
In order to expand.
yeah, I was just wondering if there was, I mean, maybe we could reshuffle some of those things there, but. You know, I'm just speculating
Yeah.
the best way of planning a through. That if we wanted to go to the east for any other
Yeah,
possible.
I was thinking the same thing. I wonder on that east side of, do we want to do a full fence on the east or maybe a different kind of a more temporary fence, maybe go a little farther?
You know, like
east?
maybe this driveway here
Continues
could come on through if we ever, if anything else
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be put in the future. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, to go, have to go through road and bridge to get over here. Maybe it's something that we would come in off the.
And maybe
The road
there
again.
could potentially be another curb cut off of 75. Further to the east, that's, if you didn't want to go through the yard necessarily.
How much property is to the north of this to our property? I mean, this isn't the property line, but
At
you
least
know.
double the length that we have shown on this map.
I was just wondering what this looked
Maybe
like
that
setting
makes more
off.
sense to go
what the
that
property
direction.
line would be.
And
One other,
You definitely have more
No.
utility access going north versus if you go
Right.
east.
the only other thing is, we would want to make it, before we fence it big enough, that in the future we can add another equipment shed, because that will not house everything.
That's what I was gonna ask about.
So,
And I think we
We-
talked
we can-
about, we talked about not putting the fence around the entire perimeter. You may not have a fence along the north edge, and maybe it's just secured via camera. That is an option too. So if you don't want to fence it entirely at one time, and you're okay with an open side, so to speak.
Yeah,
Ideally, you'd probably like to have your equipment sheds facing one another or close to
well,
one another. for
we're
access.
close, because normally with them being open, you want them to the east or to the south. So anything that would be open to the north or west would be, and that's like the salt dome, we would need to turn it.
Joe, what if we pushed north and take your planks and move them up, say just above where that fence line is now? And then you could have an east-west equipment shed where the planks are. Would that make sense?
so all of the dark gray, is that paved surfaces?
No, not necessarily. It's more just lay down yard.
Okay,
For,
so it won't have any base.
I would anticipate unless it's needed, we would just do lay down over the current grass or current seed.
On all of those areas, because we did talk about needing the fuel island to be a concrete.
Yeah,
Right.
that island of itself, yeah, this section just right here would be paved underneath. But yeah, so it's not hatched necessarily appropriately, but the rock piles and the culvert, those types of lay down pieces of material, we wouldn't anticipate doing any surfacing of those, unless it was something that was needed.
Does the equipment shed have, are there any doors or is that just like
We
a,
would
It's open.
open face to the east.
it's
Yeah.
one side's open? not-
Yeah.
Yeah, not.
Three-sided,
Three-sided.
north, west, and south.
And see, then we were also thinking there on the east side of the shop, which there's still probably room, then we could take our shop pickups. And park them, pull up to the east side of the
And
shed.
do a lean-to or
Well,
covering.
it doesn't even really have at this point. Doesn't have to have a lean-to, just a place where they're out of the way,
Sure.
if they were pulled in. Along that east wall,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
you understand what I'm
In
saying?
the office building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're out of the way, but they're close enough, the guys can walk right out, they don't have to be
Mhm.
in an enclosed building.
So that equipment shed, would you have the opening on the east side?
Yes.
Right. If you did one above it going east and west, and on the south side, so the idea, which one of the
Yeah.
north south,
It would, I mean,
maybe at both, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
no, it won't hurt anything to do that.
And then we would shift this plank and piling to the north on there.
Yeah.
Is it desired by the county at this time to have the fencing on both the east and north side of the site? We would anticipate at minimum you want the west and south fencing.
I think you'd be better, I'll be quiet.
Oh, go ahead.
My opinion would be north, west and south and leave the east open if you weren't gonna fence aside.
I think
I
that
mean,
makes sense.
that's my opinion, but everybody else. Because you're more liable to get somebody coming off that gravel road. Than you are anywhere else.
You're talking like a pretty high quality chain link or some
Right,
kind of
yeah.
fencing, right?
Yeah, we're thinking like an 8-foot chain link
8-foot
fence.
fence. So I think on the east, if you wanted to, even your guys could throw up something. Just to slow people down, because if you may want to change something later, I mean, you do.
Well,
that
and
down
that's,
the road.
that's the key. I don't,
Yeah,
if everybody decides on a length. Then. We can go east, or maybe it's easier to go north. I mean. Until I see where the property line is compared to where this is. You know, if we only have a few hundred feet left, well, then we just, well,
it's going up.
go on up.
Yeah.
And it's the way the land lays. I think we're better going north and south than we are east.
Yep.
We'll add a drawing or update the drawing so that you can also see that north property line of your land, so that you're able to see the relationship between the kind of the yard area and that edge of property.
I think you're gonna wanna figure fencing in regardless, like,
Yeah,
if you're doing this project, leaving one side of fencing open seems silly to me,
Yeah.
like.
But just
Yeah.
leave a drive-through
But-
gate so that, cause we'll also, if we wanna go out there and train somebody. In a blade or whatever,
that's not.
I want access to
Yep.
get through there to where they could. Cause that was part of this when we did it, was having the room to, take them out there in a backhoe or get them out in the blade and work on building the road. And making ditches and stuff.
I think Commissioner Knoll had a really good idea that, the idea of extending this primary access this direction. And possibly having, maybe it's not a cantilever gate, but maybe it's a manual gate that's
Yeah.
located right here. That allows you to expand your yard for, whether it's for your use or for the sheriff or for sort of some other. function.
Future expansion
Yeah.
or just access out, like you said, that if they do have a blade training area, would probably be out on that ground somewhere that they could.
I can see that.
So what we did with the culverts is that was lining them up in two roads. You come on one side to get one to get the other. So we were trying to save room. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you'd have 15 by 40s here and 18 by 40s on the other side, and then you'd have this on the other side so that. They weren't all scattered out and try to do one long road. Coming from one side, so.
So you had mentioned that the equipment shed shown here is not gonna be big enough to house all the equipment, so. You're gonna want to save yourself space in a laydown yard to park it all on a surfaced gravel area, I would assume.
Well, I think for the most part. Behind the tailgate hoppers and stuff. We should be, and if we'll have to turn that salt dome. Hopefully we can park a lot of it up against the fence or close to the fence there.
I don't see salt hopper or
Tailgate,
tailgate
hopper.
Oh, that's right.
Parking
Those,
lot.
okay.
yeah,
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah,
See that,
so-
yeah.
planks.
Salt dome.
Oh, you're gonna put them there.
that's an idea, yes. Or they can come down on the south side of the shed. And we can park, or the shop, and we can park some of them up until we get to the apron. Does that make sense? Where the fence comes down, where the office turns into the shop part, down there next to the fence, that can be parked in a row there.
You're meeting Joe in this area.
Yeah,
And really, based on your drawing, if there's no plans to have any base on the culvert rock pile, dirt piles, it's just gonna be grass. Like, you're just gonna in the gravel and have all that space to do how you want to do what you need to do.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, those spaces are more just general
Yep.
locations versus, we haven't dimensioned, 50 by 100. It could be half that size and then you need double the size of culverts or something like that.
Yep.
It may vary, so there's plenty of flexibility on that east side.
And then we'll come in and we'll put down what we need underneath it when we decide where it needs to be.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to know what that footprint, how much space that is equates to acreage wise,
Sure.
because I don't think you're gonna want to put your fence right on top of what your plans are, right? You're gonna wanna leave
We
yourself
wanna leave,
the room,
we want plenty of room.
because you're,
If we have to mow it for a while, we have to mow it for until we get it figured out.
So 2 equipment sheds be enough with that size.
Should be, yes.
we also had perimeter lighting on here. The last time we talked,
My main concern on the lighting is gonna be around the fuel island. Now, does that island have a roof over it? Or what,
It can.
were you using horizontal or vertical tanks?
We were generalizing the
Okay.
ones that you guys currently have.
Okay, so we would want 3 1,000-gallon tanks,
Is that a big enough place for that?
but, yeah.
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 Okay.
And then if it had this is just my thinking, if it had a roof over the top of it, then we could set those like K.S.A sets them in the tanks, so if you have a leak, and if you have a roof over the top of that, then we would need to have lighting there, so when the guys pull up the fuel, they can get it, so they can see.
One thing that's advantageous about this layout is that instead of pole lighting, you could just light the exterior faces of the
Yes.
equipment shed and the shop. And that already covers a majority of this acreage.
Area,
You may want to add an additional pole like at the entry approach on the north side or something like that, but.
but like where we would want to set the salt dome, we would need plenty of lighting, because at night when they're moving trucks to go out.
And we'll rotate that salt dome so that it's running east-west with the
Yeah.
opening on the east.
Joe, from a functional standpoint of coming in and getting whatever material you need and getting back out and getting fuel, does this flow look right to you?
It really looks pretty good.
Okay.
Because we sat down and tried to draw it out and send them kind of what we had in mind. That way, everything is it's fairly close. I mean, if you want to keep the dust down, you could flip flop the culverts and the rock piles, but that's kind of how we drew it up.
That's a good point.
I mean, that's the culverts, no matter what you do, are gonna be a sight for sore eyes, no matter how you put them, so.
are we currently storing them on just grass? On the,
Mhm. Mhm. And what we'll do is we'll put up concrete bumpers to keep them. They'll roll up against those in the middle. And then we had figured out so many feet in between each one, so you could drive between. Like if you had 240s and leave like 20 feet, and then 240s, that way you could drive through, pick up the ones you wanted from the other side, bring it around. Does that make sense?
no, it does. I'm just thinking of weather and like when you need them and.
If you were driving in between the culvert spot and the fence, does
It
that
would
need to
have
be
to have
gravel?
I would have to have gravel.
Joe, you hit
That's what
something
I
there,
feel
I
like
think,
you need more gravel area. for
yeah.
that.
When you said
For the
you
culvert.
flip flop the rock piles and culverts. That might make sense because you're gonna have more traffic flow with those big trucks getting wrong in culverts.
Correct.
So that would
Because the
that would
culverts
keep
are
all
gonna
your
be-
traffic more north of the shop and.
The culverts are the only time there's gonna be big truck traffic when they deliver them. The rest of the time, we're putting them on a trailer pulled by usually a pickup or a dump truck.
If you do that, other than getting fuel, the trucks can stay pretty much out of the north gate during daily operations and stay away from the office building as much, so. That's
But in the
helpful.
evening, when they come in through the west gate, fuel up, then park their trucks.
Yes.
Yeah, so Commissioner Rivas, you're kind of recommending paving, or not paving, but rocking, graveling this area
You know,
here.
think about taking those three, move them up and
Move
taking
those-
that, move it down.
Move it down and then graveling this area.
If that makes sense to, he
Yeah.
works it, I don't, but just what
The
he was
culverts,
saying.
the culverts need to have gravel on their sides,
Okay.
which within that 100 feet. I mean, that's gonna be quite a bit of the gravel, so, but. But then I think, like we said, we need to push the boundaries. We need to see where our boundary is to the north and make sure that we have. If it's an extra 100 feet, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but just make sure that for expansion, so we don't have to move a fence.
You put the fence in one time.
Yes.
Like Eric said, like a gate over there on that side makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, you can drive through and
You take your graders over
just
there
one
and do your thing.
lock, swinging
Yeah.
gates that we lock with a padlock and. Drive right on through.
So we also talked about three-phase electric last time.
What did we decide? Did we?
We
need it?
didn't, the
Your guy
recommendation,
was gonna look at that.
the recommendation was to add it, because the number was 100 is what was thrown out, 100,000.
Did your engineer think that was a good idea?
Yeah, it's not a problem to add. If we desire it.
So it's not in this.
Well, it'd be included in the cost per square foot of the buildings.
So that he thinks that we need it.
Yeah, you guys were gonna look into the cost effectiveness, is it worth doing it or not worth doing it? I thought you guys were gonna have your electrical guy look at that.
We haven't had them look at the comparison. We will
Okay.
need to get that completed for our next discussion. with
Okay.
you. We did talk to them about the logistics of doing either one, and they're both viable to be performed, but we need to talk about the comparison and the value of return on investment between the two. That answered.
And on the preliminary building layout, the wash bay is included, but that's not included in the. Is that included in this cost analysis?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be part of that, 13,500 square foot.
Okay.
Building cost at $115. per
Okay.
square foot.
so it is included,
Correct.
okay.
On the
It's-
I'm sorry,
Go
on
ahead.
the wash bay, is that all of that water go down the sewer? Or does that, do we have?
It does, it would go through a sand separator, through a catch basin under the trench drains in the shop. Would also go through a sand separator, and the catch basin in the wash bay would go through the same.
Okay, I didn't know whether, I was thinking that something on that scope would almost need to have its own evaporation pond or something that, with that much water.
No, I don't think so. That wouldn't be something that we've typically done,
Okay.
unless there was a retention requirement for any kind of sewer water, but it would go through sanitation similar to any other sewer water, as long as it goes through the sand separator first.
And is that separator included?
Yes,
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Okay, so from the notes of last time. Versus this time, you guys are gonna go back and update the electrical cost to underground. Add the fencing costs in, giving us additional room.
Mhm.
You figured 6-inch AB3 in your current proposal.
Mhm.
Perimeter lighting for the fuel tank area and the salt domes. And basically on the sheds
Mhm.
covering the
Yeah,
area.
so the cost per square foot of the facilities would include its own lighting. If you want additional pole lighting, we'll just talk with Joe on where those need to be, and then we'll include those separate.
The fuel island roof.
Yeah, it can be.
Rotating the salt dome. Giving us what the total acreage needed based on this and a little bit additional. Flip the culverts with the rock and dirt piles. Gravel the culvert area and then recommend the 3-phase electric.
To
Maybe.
compare it to single
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah. And maybe when you give us that, once all of those items are lumped in and altered, you just show us like, here's single phase, here's, you know.
Yeah.
And then at that
Okay.
moment, we would have the information to know what direction.
And it was determined that we do want to show the second equipment shed. Want to proceed with that modification. I had that as a note as well.
So you're just backing the bridge planks up and then putting, I mean, for a master plan, I think it
I mean,
makes
it
sense.
needs- yeah,
The master plan.
For a master plan, it makes sense,
Unless-
especially if you're
unless-
phasing this
I mean,
over.
I'm not trying to change everything unless you think that. Do we put the two sheds, turn them sideways? Or do we move the salt dome and the salt
Well,
office north and?
That's what I'm thinking. We can both run east and west and move your domes over.
So but we have to have room, let's see, so do we put the other one here? And then move this stuff north and move that north?
Well, I want to be turned, the one you got east and west,
Yeah,
and have another one east and west, on each side of that north drive.
So have both of them
Either way, yeah, there.
on the north drive.
Flanking the north drive.
I'm just wondering, would that work and have both of them have south doors,
Well, I think it would.
or do you want it east west?
Well, the east and west is fine, but I think then you would want to move this stuff
Okay.
up here. Because
Can
if
you-
it's snowing and blowing 900 mph and you've got to walk clear up here to get in a truck. Instead
Right.
of just walking to one of the first ones, it's just me thinking.
So run them both east and west, just parallel.
or
to
what
each other.
about an L shape?
Or an L shape.
Like that.
Yes, certainly you could. And one of the advantages is we're also thinking of mobilization capacity or ability.
Right.
And that's where I think, Joe, I think, kind of what you're reflecting on is the speed at which you can get and mobilize on site to your vehicles and equipment and then start moving at the site in the county. Unless I think the idea of an L-shaped facility, could be really nice. One of the advantages to that is it would allow fluid access kind of around the fuel island and you have just one vehicle at a time being able to stack.
You'd have a big, basically a courtyard there.
Yeah, exactly. That would allow for a great amount of circulation, and again, that fuel island would benefit from being able to be accessed from two sides with equipment.
Now, if you do an L shape, then that corner of that, it would give you also a small storage room or area for a lot of your
Stuff
miscellaneous.
that we don't move very often.
Yeah.
Seasonal, more seasonal.
And then we'll simply take the salt dome and the tailgate hopper and then the bridge planking, we'll shift those north as a result.
It gives you good windbreak too by having that L shape. You can really block the west and the north. I think you'll like that. It'll all drift on the other side where your doors are.
I'm not following the L shape. Can you? So you're having currently as it stands, the three sides that are covered is north, south, west with the east open air.
Correct.
And so what would it look like?
So it would be it would be similar in slenderness, running north, south,
Right,
and then running east-west. What would happen is this far east side would be walled, sided. The north would be sided. The west would be sided and the south would be sided, and then the rest of this would be open.
Creating.
the horseshoe, like a horseshoe?
Just
An
L.
angle, a square.
But it'd be an L, but similar to a horseshoe in function.
Okay,
And that would allow vehicles to be able to immediately mobilize into the yard and then out or need to be.
You know, something else, it's from the office, you can look out and see all your equipment. You can see what's going on with all those bays out there in case you're trying to figure something out.
Yeah, on the
I don't
back
know.
side of that, though, you would have, well, that's stuff that you wouldn't need to see, your salt dome and your,
It'd be north.
yeah, it'd be in the north of there.
Yeah, you lose some of your visibility of these a little bit, shipping those to the north, but again, they did be part of your secured site.
I mean, your recommendation would be an L over two standalone buildings. I mean, for functionality or,
See, The thing about the L that I don't like is possibility. Even though you're opening up the middle, you're gonna still have some congestion between people going into one and going into the other, backing out of one, backing into
Right.
the other.
What if they're not
That's-
connected? You just have one here and one go higher up, so you actually have a gap between them. I mean, so you actually have two functional buildings, but you're farther apart.
Yeah, they
I'm just
wouldn't need to
thinking-
be connected.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about my employees. All right, so if Mark and I are jumping in our trucks and we're in a hurry and we got this L over here. And he starts backing out. And this one over here isn't paying attention.
Right.
You're gonna have more chance of something getting hit. If you took another one of these and put it over here. Like this, they're coming in and out on this side of the building. They're coming in and out on this side of the building.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna have any of that congestion.
I'm okay either
Because
way.
if somebody is, I understand, but you're still gonna, this way, they're gonna hit culverts. They screw up over here, they're gonna hit the building. They shouldn't, but you understand what I'm saying? Otherwise, if you put that L in here, then you got, okay, it's quitting time. And everybody, what happens at quitting time? They come flying up through here and this guy's doing something. I just think it's, you're asking.
Would there be,
I agree.
would there be any advantage, if you're okay with the north-south orientation of the sheds, would it be advantageous to have a second one here? And basically, this is a pull-through lane.
Yeah.
And it's 80 foot from building to building, so you
Oh, I
wouldn't
didn't
have
agree.
that conflict. And all you're doing is pushing your salt dome and your tailgate hopper further.
Right, and you could actually bring this over further because say that they're gonna pull in, for some reason, need to back something in on the excavator on the low boy. Want it inside, you're gonna need more room than that 80 feet. So if you move this back over
Back in
here,
tighter to the property line.
yes, then that gives all that room in there.
If you backed it clear up to the fence line, you could do without the fence.
Yeah, exactly. The building could operate as that.
Yeah,
Has the fence.
absolutely. Yeah, you just tie the.
Because there's no need of having a.
Cause
On the backside of it.
one thing here, and I don't wanna make the footprint huge, we have plenty of property. So if we make it too small and there's no places for anybody to turn, then we've shot ourselves in the foot when we have plenty of property to do this. My opinion, so.
Right.
I like two standalone buildings, like you said. I think
Yeah.
that makes more
I'm
sense.
good with that.
Well, and that, I think two standalone buildings would go, this will have to be done in stages. I mean,
Right,
and then you could do one, and then eventually that's where the
Right.
next proposed one will go.
and then we can park equipment where that other one's gonna be.
Yeah.
And have plenty of room.
I think that also offers nice constant visibility down the drive lane, from the offices, so.
Other thoughts, commissioners, and items that we need to address?
Cause we wanna keep, so I wanna explain this. Where the hopper rack and tailgate rack is. We're just gonna build one bigger than what we have now, and you just drive around on the other side and take your tailgate off and you hang your tailgate. So because right now we don't have a hoist. Or a crane to pick them up and set them in place, and it'll be. About the same length, it'll be the same length as the hopper rack, and you just. When you take your hopper out, or if you need to put your hopper in, take your tailgate off on the other side, you hang it, drive around and back in the other
Oh,
side.
okay.
So it's kind of a dual, cause I've seen them with KDOT, will line them all up in a row. And they've got 200 or 300 feet of that up against the fence, which we could do, but we were just trying to utilize
Both sides.
both sides.
Yeah, the two-sided approach seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Operation.
And we can move that up when we do it, the salt dome, get it up there out of the way. To where we can. Have that room.
You have enough turning radius and room to bring in the semis with rock to stock your rock pile there. Well, if we switched it, if we go up high, we get plenty of room there.
Yeah, if we switch it, I think it'll help, but we can,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think so.
Okay.
We'll
We can bump that
update
a
the
little
turning
bit.
radius to show the
Yeah.
semi.
If the turning radius right here is a little bit tight, we'll expand this from 70 feet to maybe 80 to 90 or.
Well,
Yeah,
oh, down there, it's not as big.
and then like, what our plan is, or my plan is to bid rock. And we'll just need a place where they can come in and back into the rock pile with their end dumps and dump it.
Would be awful easily to even have the rock and dirt pile on the east side of the fence, because nobody's gonna be coming in and steal, you know, if you wanted to pile rock, you could go on to the east and dump it area there.
That's true. Just. I like being able to see it, I just wanna make sure that whatever we do, that we don't make it too small.
And then making sure that we're adding the gravel for with the areas of the salt dome and the tailgate hopper. Cause you'll have another shed there, so you'll want the
So-
gravel.
And then inside the salt dome will either be concrete or asphalt.
And the equipment shed, I didn't read on there yet. Is
No.
that-
Is that accounted for?
Probably not.
There'd be, we were anticipating that it could either be a concrete or a gravel, depending on. what the
Gravel,
is.
there's no reason,
So we-
Okay.
But
we-
the salt dome, you said you wanted concrete or asphalt.
yes.
But is there any
We-
part
we
of your
concrete.
equipment you would want
Yeah.
concrete for? I'm just asking, is there anything you would want us to run a concrete floor?
It's accounted for.
I think it will be, you will be,
Added.
yes.
Okay.
I don't think so. It's,
I mean. Because don't think so. Okay. And we have some learnings and stuff. If we have an extra one, we can put them in there also.
So can I ask you a little bit about the process? Obviously, we have costs to update, but we're getting close to like what that master plan looks like, and then we'll marry that with what the costs look like. So I mean, we can't make decisions without all the pieces of information, right? But when we get to the place of knowing this is the master plan, this is the cost, and phasing it out, how does it work from an opinion? So we have expressed to you guys that we really want our local contractors to be a very integral part of this process. But when you start looking at a master plan and then phasing it out, is that just? I mean, I guess in your experience, it's a kind of a pick and choose scenario, and like the RFP would go out to local contractors of this, because like with your numbers, have you found that they're pretty in tune with local? Like, so we had a project that we got some budget numbers on last year, 2 years ago, and they were a lot lower than what when we did the RFP, right? We did the RFP and then they came back and they were significantly higher. So I'm just wondering, because also from a public entity, we don't want to burn bridges, right? And we want to know, like, this is the project cost, this is what we're going to, and not get to the end and open them up and go, oh, wow.
The magnitude's greater than we can call.
Yeah, and honestly, that scenario almost played out last time of like, we went through the process just like this, and we got there and we opened them as like, oh, wow, like, no, and that's not good for anybody, right? It's like
Absolutely.
all the money we're spending on planning and looking at a process, so
Yeah,
just wondering kind of, I know that I'm all over the place, but how we can ensure our local contractors are part of your process, because you'll be the ones handling this.
right. Yeah,
Correct?
So to answer the first part of your question, which is kind of the confidence in the numbers, to give you a recent project that we had some experience on with Lyon County. They did a very similar shop, and we showed some images of it last time. They had a very similar, parking layout, drives, approaches, gravel yards. They did have a second building that was actually fully insulated. It was actually an operational facility as well. So the scale is very, very similar.
Okay.
That one was competitively bid in 2021, 2022, and it was competitively bid at around 4.9 million.
Okay.
So just to give you some scale and comparability, obviously since 2021, we've seen a little bit of escalation. So These numbers that we have in our cost per square foot do reflect that.
Okay.
But of course, there's, things, there's scope that may be wanting to add later that, we aren't thinking of today that can vary and change those bids by that aspect. To answer the second part of your question, as far as the scope and understanding like where those numbers come in at, we see that as we get closer and refining this document, those numbers get more and more detailed.
Okay.
So this is a very
Broad.
raw
Yep.
evaluation of the overall project.
Okay.
So I think that as we continue this process, before anything ever raises the ground, so to speak, before anything touches the ground out there, we'll be in a position to give you more refined values of these itemized costs, not just lump values. so to
Okay,
speak.
perfect. It'll be dialed in more to,
Yeah.
It'd be more dialed in,
Okay.
and that is to say too, that when you look at this, again, right now, we're focused on the master plan.
right,
Out of that master plan, the county may elect to do the whole master plan, or you may do a portion of that, maybe just this south portion, for example. We're able to quantify what that portion of the work will be that would go out to the public for general contractors. We also have general contractors that we work with regularly, that are within the region that we kind of quality check
mhm,
our values to make sure that we're utilizing the right square foot values for equipment and materials. That really helps. Again, it is an opinion of cost. It isn't an actual bid that we're providing, but we try to hit the midpoint between where bids will come in,
mhm.
so that you're able to not just award a project, but be able to have, a qualified bidder and hopefully local bidders involved in that process.
And what we would do is, if we were hired to help the county facilitate that process, we would directly contact all of those local contractors as the bid went out to ensure that they have
Perfect.
knowledge of it, to make sure that they are, they have the full 3-week, 4-week bid period
Mhm.
to review the plans and see if that's something they'd be interested in submitting a bid on. And we follow up with them in that 2 to 3 to 4-week process. And see, gauge their interest through that whole process, and after the 4th week and say, are you guys planning on bidding this tomorrow? Just to make sure we're submitting or getting at least one bid, because that's always an issue as well as, are you gonna receive any bids? Do we have to rebid this again in 6 months? You don't want that to happen. So,
Right.
we'll reach out to them on a regular basis to make sure that their interest is engaged in.
Okay. And speaking of like rebidding, are you able to give us an analysis too of phasing it out? In my brain is going to be like, here's the project, we got to figure out a funding phasing, like to make it work, versus if you take this project and you chop it up into 3 phases, right? Then you're rebidding and you're taking all of your negotiating power out when you're saying total tonnage for rock, different things that like a
Yeah.
project of magnitude.
Yeah, there is value in quantity.
Right, so I just want to make sure that maybe you guys can help explain that to us when we get to that point of like, what are we gonna do? Of like, if you phase it out, then you're looking at costs of you coming back, 3 different times and bidding it out 3 different times, and maybe not the bang for the
And
buck
there may-
of,
Absolutely.
There
we
may
can
be,
represent that.
there may be an avenue where a lot of material is purchased, but just stored on site temporarily until a future phase is decided to commence. So like with the Rockford or AB3, for example, there may be further expansion to the north, and you may want to overbuy on some of that AB3 and pile it. That would be something that may be advantageous to bid more competitively as a whole and the first phase versus pushing that off or divvying it out into two separate phases or 3 separate phases. So there's things that we can discuss as to what's the most advantageous and beneficial to the county when it comes to that cost, or even a contractor that says, we're not so interested in one phase, we'd be interested in the whole thing. How do we make that work?
right,
So,
yeah,
if those are conversations that we need to facilitate, of course.
awesome. Okay,
Only other question here, looking at all this, so. At the end of the day, all the fuel's on the left side of the vehicles. So we may have to bring the semis in this driveway to fuel up if we leave that like that, but I don't see any other way of changing it.
Unless you've shifted it to the north side, which our goal here with the.
No, I
location,
understand all
was
that.
to keep it as close to the shop as possible, but out of the way of congestion.
What's your problem with that, Joe?
Okay, so the semis, when they come in, I guess they can make that swing, they'll have to swing to hit the fuel station
Or come straight in the other gate.
or come straight in this gate would be
That'd be
the,
easy.
so, which we can do that, but I like having the trash deal out there that we're keeping everybody that does not belong in our facility where they need to be. And
Either
that is-
in the yard
They're
or
either-
out of.
Yes, and then they can't we have salesmen that go straight to the shop. We have people that go straight to the shop. They can't get there. But I think that's great, if you want to know the truth. Because we had a problem with that the other day. You just go straight in there and I like that. Hope nobody's in there that doesn't belong.
Well, that also reduces liability.
Yes, and that's part of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because then nobody's getting down there getting run over, they're away from all the truck traffic, all of it.
Yeah, and this is a common issue we're seeing with a lot of counties and even municipalities, the idea of separating the public from those more endangered areas where you might have vehicular traffic and large equipment moving around.
Your turning radius is gonna change there, bringing a semi in. Heading east right there, and they go to turn back to the north. They're gonna have to go forward quite a bit to make that turn.
Yeah,
back trailer, so
Yeah,
I'll double check with our civil engineers this afternoon.
Yeah.
We'll get a semi radius.
you got the
on it.
room, so.
Because right now, we just have I think it's a SB 40 is the style of vehicle that we show.
Yeah, we have,
The
we have one belly dump haul rock with, and then we have a tractor.
Yeah,
along
and
the way.
we'll email you this afternoon to make sure we get what that vehicle is so that we get the right.
More than likely, you're gonna have a piece of equipment fueling up too. So if those trucks come in, they're gonna have to swing around
Not only.
anything that's fueling, currently fueling.
Yeah, the nice thing that's shown here is that with the 40-foot width, you still have, even if a truck is parked there, you still have 25-30 feet.
See those guys, instead of like now, they almost go clear to the gate. They can come in from the north. And other than the semis, they can stand in line right there. They're not blocking anything coming in.
Right.
They're not blocking anything. As long as they have that there in the middle, it's perfect.
So what we'll do is, we'll take all these comments and this afternoon, I'll make, some revisions to some of the documents and get that sent in for, so we have the changes made before you guys see them, in your email. And then as far as the plan changes, we'll make those over the next few days and get that updated and send it to Joe for a final look. And then once we kind of get a head nod on those and make sure that we get approval with those, we'll start to formulate all that information into the report.
Will that be next week? For the report, for everything you're sending me next week. I'm on vacation, so I'll have you send it to Emily and she can forward it.
Okay, sure.
She can
Yeah.
forward it to everybody. Was all where I'm at, but that she can. forward
And
it to
of
them.
course, if there's something that we omit in this initial email, just let us know. I know we've all been making notes, but if there's something that we missed, feel free to let us know before we send you the final so that we get it incorporated.
Or do you guys have a problem just having him send it to the commissioners
No.
and Mark? Just we'll send it to everybody and then. they
How
can-
about, we'll send it to the commissioner email and then we'll CC you guys. And if you have comments, feel free to just reply.
Yeah,
And
then that way it goes straight to you and you can look at it and there's no having to wait. Any other questions?
Not really related to BG, but I just think it would be important to talk about why we're talking about this, because I know this has been a need for prior to me as a commissioner that previous road and bridge and commissioners have talked about. And just for the public who's watching this presentation to understand, like, why are we looking at a new road and bridge facility? I know since I've been here, one of the things was the parking with staff. I mean, you didn't have any other,
We still
You
don't
were-
have room.
trying to park them across the street or different places. So if you could just touch a little bit on why we're to this point and like,
We're wanting to centralize one location so that we can have our culvert pipes, our piling, our bridge planks. All of it, and then all of our equipment at one location. And we can bid out rock have all the rock at the shop. So in the mornings at 7 o'clock, if we're going to the western part of the county, we leave from there and we go. And when we're working 10 hours a day, when we're going east, we can always come back and stop at the quarries here in town and get rock. And then they stop for lunch. Some of it, I think, is a half an hour, 45 minutes. Well, our guys can come in if they want to eat their lunch, get loaded and be gone. And then at 10-hour days, at 4 o'clock, some of them 3:30, they're done. So we can haul rock clear up until we quit. At the
Currently,
work, and we're not being able to service the western part of the county because it takes so long. By the time you drive all the way to Atchison, you wait in line, you get it, we'll have it all in one location. Our culverts, we drive to Effingham, we load them. We have townships that get stuff for us. We have to make sure there's people out there on those days where it's all centralized and located in one spot. When we go, it's not gonna be, oh, we gotta go clear out there, we gotta load them. Well, then what are you gonna do the rest of the day? Well, then you gotta drive all the way back to the shop, and we're losing time. And time costs us a lot. You know, it's basically money. We're not servicing the county like we should be when we're all over the place with where we have stuff stored. Now, don't get me wrong, the rock piles we have in those various areas are utilized for chip and seal and things like that. And if we could, the one at Larry Coder's, when it's done, maybe we could pile some gravel there, but then you have to have a loader there also. So it's just about as easy to have it all in one place.
and our noxious weeds
Our
are.
noxious weed will be there, everything, there will be
You're
no,
running,
no confusion about where to go. The hours will be posted, we're here. Everybody can come and get everything they need right there.
an opportunity when other projects within our county are going on for millings and different things. We now have,
Now we have a place where we can put.
we can buy them when they're
Yes,
affordable and
or
truck
we
them.
can put it right in the bid that we want them. And they can either be trucked in by the contractor, or we can truck them in ourselves.
And as being here the longest, that, I mean, all of the different things that's been discussed over the years, the one thing is like, can we make our current facility work? Well, it's bursting at the seams. We tried looking at connecting it to other properties next door. It just doesn't work. I mean, at some point you have to check the box. It's like the current facility is inadequate. It's not big enough. You couldn't even build new on that footprint. I mean,
No,
it's
we
just,
already
yeah,
have
that, so
explored.
we've looked at all of those different scenarios, and it's like, we've got to look beyond where we're at now.
For me, one of the big factors is the shop, existing shop is just not conducive to being
Oh,
efficient at
yeah.
all, getting your mechanic work done. It's not, I think it's safe, but it's definitely not an ideal situation.
Well, then also when you're looking to hire a mechanic and also other employees, mechanic, if he walks in and you've got a facility that's nice to work in, he's gonna be more interested than if he walks into what we have currently. Because there's no, there's no room, there's nothing,
Yeah,
and as far as being ADA, we don't comply right now. Those things are things that we have to pay attention to and comply with.
I think employee retention as well. You have a facility that's got nice bathrooms and nice facilities, a place to eat your lunch, whatever. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, because right now we eat lunch in the shop. So, and if it's cold and the guys are working in the shop and having to get equipment going, then the doors are open, and the heat expense is unbelievable in our shop right now.
What is the proposal on heating and cooling in this shop? Is this
So in this shop, we're anticipating a radiant 2 heat.
Gas fired.
That's right, yeah.
Did you mean like cost per year?
no, just what type of it? I know a lot of places do the reclaim oil and have burners and different things, and I don't know if maybe that's worthwhile.
We do, it depends. We've done that in about 2 facilities. The main advantage to that is if you're producing a lot of oil, you're able to kind of reuse that and reclaim that value. Generally, we find that the performance over time, that radiant to heat tends to perform better
Right.
than those other fuel-based forms, but we can have our engineer would look into that.
No, I'm just
And
curious.
and from, once you get into the design, the scoping cost per square foot would account for those variances and systems. Right now, we do have it accounted for the radiant to heat, but you could certainly modify that slightly within that realm and still be within your budgetary expectations.
Then the shop area wouldn't be cooled.
No, we do not have the shop as being cool,
No.
the shop area
We,
itself.
we had provision for, large industrial fans, that will circulate and cool the space pretty well, but you're gonna have those overhead doors open in the summertime, there's gonna be nice.
And with it set north and south, we don't know if that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, I wish direction you for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, as part of our report, as part of this master plan effort and the actual physical document that you'll receive from BG at the end of this process. We'll do in the forward of that document, the why, as to why this is needed. And I think you guys made some good points, for the centralization, deferred maintenance of the existing facility, the constrained footprint, and then the employee retention. I think those are all really good points, and we'll outline those and expand on that, as part of that forward or the introduction of that report. And then it will go into the details of the new proposed project.
I think it's just important for the public to know the why.
Yeah.
Because we didn't just dream this up, but this has
Right.
been many years of trying to put the pieces together, and it's like a puzzle, you gotta figure it out. And
Sure.
when we finally found a land option that we felt good about, it's
Yeah. And
not
maybe-
taking anything off the tax roll, and it's a,
Fiber is right there.
It's
That's not
the
something. we have
utilities
to-
are
Sewer.
As we,
right off the
sewer,
highway for,
Everything's there,
I mean-
water's there.
there's just a lot
Positives.
of brainstorming behind the scenes
Yeah.
that we do, that we want to make sure that we can, explain to the
and
public.
maybe as we exchange emails, you guys can provide some of the history of the last 10-15 years of some of those discussions and the decisions that were made that have led to this point. And then we can, of course, speak to the existing facilities, the employee retention, those other things that we were outlining. But yeah, having some background of that history, would definitely benefit us in the writing of that report.
I do have one question on the office plan. So that's the conference room, which is for large groups of trainings and things. So for Joe, for superintendent. I know a lot of times small meetings with one or two contractors or whoever's going over some plans or even to discuss things with an employee or two. I guess my question for Joe, is that enough room for you, like in your office? Or my question is, could the reception area be a little smaller? And make your office maybe a little wider so you can have a small table in there or a meeting area? I mean, do you need a more private space once in a while to give you a little more room?
That's not a bad idea. If we could cut the reception area down and make it bigger. I don't know what's the size of the office.
12 by 12.
12 by 12.
Yeah.
Or maybe 11 to 12, now that we actually did make the reception area slightly larger to accommodate some circulation and breaching doors, but yeah, I think it's 11 by 12, whatever's in the programming worksheet. Well, like 12, but superintendent, 11 by 12 for the office manager.
And should the public entry be directly into the reception area and not into a hallway first? Because they can come in that door and go right on into the shop. That hallway.
Say that one more time.
Well, it seems like you come in the door, you go right down the hall, you can still go
Well,
into the shop.
this door would be locked, and that was one of the things that Emily touched on,
Okay,
that this door would be locked.
That's why she
From-
moved
from
over
the
from her
public
office
yeah.
into the
So they
reception
they
office.
could only enter or come to the
Okay,
reception
I
window.
want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably, we ran into a door issue there. But that way, she just goes directly in there unless you would put a window, of course.
Well, what if we took out the, like, I guess is janitorial,
Correct.
and give that to the superintendent and find a corner somewhere to put that.
Yeah, that's-
janitorial
That would.
closet, that'd
Yeah.
be, without moving anything else, that would give a
Exactly.
lot more room for
Everything
that office.
else the same.
And we could find a corner somewhere
Yeah,
to whittle out to put in a janitorial closet.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Will it
Maybe
go under the
janitorial.
stairway?
And plans could be in this, I mean,
With
It
the-
could be underneath the stairway, is that what you're?
Well, that's what I was looking, what if it come from the hallway side on that, under the stairs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we just need to make sure that we have a janitorial sink by code purposes.
Right.
by Code service so that you can maintain your facility. We
Right.
want to make sure we provide that feature. But that would certainly make this more like, 16 by 11 or 16 by 12. And that would certainly be more suitable to having smaller, one-on-one, one-on-two conferences.
something that we took out to accommodate this layout was a window from the superintendent office into the shop. If that's something that we want to reincorporate, we can do that.
Oh, that'd be good.
It could be shut, with blinds most of
Right.
the time, if you don't want people peering in, but, of course, if you need to yell out there or see what's going on.
Yeah, that would give, I like that.
That'd be all right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll add that in on that east wall.
Well, you got a plans room, but you also have storage up above for. I mean, I guess, do you
Yeah,
need a plans room or do we,
All right, so that's probably where, how big is that room?
It's only 8 by 10.
you need some place to store things for the office though, is that what that is?
8 by 11.
We can use that, I mean, it can be for like you're saying, paper towels, it can be for whatever, and we can actually up above. We can store our files up there if we need to.
We already have water with that bathroom. I was thinking you could make that your janitorial closet and maybe your general supplies for. The conference room and for the office.
Yeah,
In lieu of a plans room, have it specifically
Yeah,
janitorial.
Going digital so much. It's not
and your
actually-
plans will just be with your files upstairs.
Right.
Yeah, I mean. Yep, sure.
Yeah, knocks out both the visions of them between walls.
Mhm.
And in that reception office, we've got those. Files that are about 5 foot tall, we have room, we can put some
Yeah.
of those in there that she's gonna deal with data.
Right, that's the.
well, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll look forward to getting those
Yeah,
updates.
you should see the email from me this afternoon with some of those updates, and then we'll visit on the plans a little bit more detail. And just as far as the AOPC was concerned, there's some omitted information, so we'll make sure that we get to that this afternoon.
So when you send that to the commissioners. And Mark, and then we'll, it should be. But you went in on a tap. Sure. And tap.
What's your email? Okay.
So, hold on, so
I thought. Can you pause it?
We didn't have a dedicated.
It could be located within the.
Okay, he's in here with us.
don't you think you should ever? See, there's,
For a
switch or something, so.
there's a mezzanine above. And
If
That way.
within that mechanical room, if you needed a 6 by 6 or 8 by 6 closet, there's a dedicated IT closet.
Nothing that big.
So I'm assuming it would have racks, server racks.
It'd just be.
It'd be a wall mount, right?
A wall mount, right.
Maybe that plans room again. Maybe that plan, that storage room, maybe it'd be air conditioned. You
Yeah,
know,
that space would be conditioned, yeah.
yeah,
It'd be like the same thing that you have at solid waste in the closet, like a, almost like a little refrigerator size.
Yeah.
Up on the wall.
That's good.
It's not-
Yeah, I mean, that's what, yeah, a wine cooler. That's what I thought of.
Fine.
That's what I thought of. Like, that's what it looks like. It's like,
It's a family show, Casey.
That rack in their office.
it's like his last breath, looks like wine coolers.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. What's that?
Not one.
Oh,
Bourbon County.
okay. Well, in Lyon County, I think it'd be interesting to hear, when you do big projects, sometimes you have regrets. Like, is there anything they did that they would have done differently? I think it would be interesting. All right, Scott Howard, Information Technology Director, RFP for IT projects review and discussion.
Does everybody have a copy?
Yep.
I think for the extras. Okay,
So thank you for putting this together. It's kind of one of those things that's so specific to you that we're going to have a conversation about it. We're like, this is like, we just need you to tell us what you need and explain things to us. So if we can just walk through kind of what you're looking for and
sure. So, ideally, we want something that is going to improve the security posture of the county. And starting out with the first project would be to establish what a department needs access to, and those in that department, if there's certain files that they shouldn't have access to, if there's like, if we need to compartmentalize that data, the data that they produce. So that would be, that first one is just finding out what they do, what they need access to, and figuring out how to partition that data. And then that kind of falls into the second project, where then you implement those roles and responsibilities. You say this person needs access to these files, but they don't need access to this one. Or generally right now, how it is most departments have their department drive and everybody has access to everything. And that generally works out. I don't think we really have any specific ones where people or our employees need access to a certain subset of department files. Most of the time it's all shared, just because cross training and whatnot. When somebody goes on vacation, they take over doing that job, or they get too much to do, somebody else can take the load. So but we would implement those in Active Directory with policies and making sure that they have access to the correct files, essentially. I guess that's more falls into project 3, where we then specify those roles that we've outlined above and make sure that they actually have those permissions for those shares. Those 3 that I believe the county can do. I've kind of changed my idea on whether or not the county should do those. I wouldn't be opposed to, if the vendor wants to quote it. Sure, if you want to do it, go ahead. But if it's going to be at a substantial amount, the county can do it.
okay.
And then when it comes to 4 and 5, me and David do not have the training,
Okay.
or the expertise in those fields. So we just want somebody to go through and scan our data, be like, hey, this has social security numbers in it. This has personal or identifiable information. We should protect that some way, shape, or form, further than what we currently have with security permissions. And then once we determine where those files are, and if we need to move them around and put them in their own folder or directory or share, we can do that. And then 5 would be the project where we take that and we're like, this needs to be encrypted. Only subset of people need access to this. There needs to be some sort of encryption on it per law, or just for peace of mind. That way we can keep track of who's accessing what, and if there's ever an incident, we can go back and go into those audit logs and see who touched what and when.
Okay. I like the guidelines that you gave to the vendors. I think that's important to see the breakdown of the costs and the timelines and all the things. Question on roles and responsibilities, and this is just some observation I had from having my commissioner list serve with other counties is, so I know Atchison County is set up with like the first initial of your first name, your last name at ATCO K.S. That's more individualized versus the role. If you did the role, and I'm just asking, so like Commissioner District 3, right? And then the next person would then have the information, because I feel like sometimes that's hard when you have a transition in a role. it's so tied to the person that it's shut off. And then there's no easy way, right? Of like, let's use finance director. Like if it was
No.
finance director at
Mhm.
ATCO, then you shut the person off, but you still have the finance director. You change the password or something and then give it to the next person, right? I don't know. I just wanted to ask your opinion on that because I didn't know if maybe that could be a
But
goal
does
for
the
the.
history follow the person or the email? That's the
Right.
question.
Yeah, because like, there's a lot of information
Yeah.
that all of us have, that if it's not the person, then the next person in the role could have access to, and that could alleviate a lot of other things as well, like if it's.
So currently what we do is we don't have any like aliases to say like Commissioner District 3
Mhm.
or Finance Director. If we could, that's actually a potential possibility that we could do, where we give an alias to a certain job position. But right now what we do is the person, when they leave the county, we will, if they're in a position that has historical data or stuff that is ongoing, we'll take their mailbox and we'll put it into an archive mode, or we'll put it into a shared mailbox, and the next role or next person that fills that role will get access to that.
Okay,
Or-
it's
or-
essentially the same thing behind the
Mhm.
scenes. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't think I had access. I had access to the previous commissioner.
yeah, I didn't.
Never commissioner.
So I think
Yeah,
this
that would
was,
be,
I don't think we did that before I started,
okay.
so.
I just think it would be helpful, right? Of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, here's.
There's nothing exciting in my email.
No, well, and I mean, it keeps you on task, right? If it's the next commissioner or the next anybody, it's like, here's the information and I think, I don't know, just a thought.
That
So
would be
maybe that,
helpful, yeah.
yeah, we could talk about that, but I
Okay.
just, when you were explaining roles and responsibilities, I was thinking, if I put myself in a department head role of like, okay, this is my deputy so-and-so, you know, they have access to X, Y, and Z, then if you get someone new, you don't have to set all those roles up again. It's based on that alias.
Right,
And
there's sometimes there's some issues with doing that too. When you have shared access like that, you're like, who has, not necessarily who has access to it, but it's harder to be like, who's this role? I mean, if we were a bigger organization, that would be a cause of concern, but so I just don't see very much shared names like that typically.
gotcha. Well, and I know when we got our first information back, like the email addresses that did have multiple people within them
Mhm.
was a concern because you can't trace it to if it's safety committee at ATCO, like maybe I'm and Mark both, who did, you know, so I was just thinking like specific to that one person, not the group.
Right.
But no, that's information, so. Do you guys have any other info or questions for him on his RFP?
I like the RFP.
I do
yeah.
too.
They said there was a chat.
Oh, sorry.
Jody put it out there. Personal information is also sent in work emails for that specific employee, insurance, direct deposits, etc. So as far as keeping them individualized more so.
Oh, because that's makes sense. The next one could see
Mhm.
all the things. Interesting. I wonder how other counties can get away with that.
So go back, so which ones did you want to start with? And what's your timeline for which projects when?
I mean, up to the vendor really, but I mean, it kind of does waterfall down, just boom, 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 one after another is how they should be done.
Yeah.
There's like these 2 and 3 could probably be done at the same time. And 4 and 5, could almost be one project too, just because they're dealing with the same information, so.
But to be clear, so you want to do RFP for all 5 projects at once,
Mhm.
not do somebody then do another. Okay, so do it all one time.
I mean,
then
they
we
could, I
decide
guess,
time.
they could be done at separate times.
Well,
I mean, ideally, I would do 1 through 3 and then 4 and 5.
Well, and on like the last time when T.S. Conard had to come in and request access, they probably will want to do them. Like whatever company we end up going with will want to do a swoop
Mhm.
and get out of here versus.
It'd make more sense to go with one vendor to
Yeah.
through the whole thing,
Yeah.
just to make it easy for you guys to communicate and have a system, because otherwise the second one comes in, they gotta refigure out where we're at. They may say, well, we would have done that a little different.
Right,
And I like that you have them give the cost breakdown, because like to what you said earlier of like, if number two is here and you're like, yeah, we're not doing that, I'll do it, in-house versus. So I think that, I like how you set this RFP up. I think it's really good. And the clause you gave at the end, so I think this is really good.
Is there any additional clauses we need in there for the, as a county RFP that?
No.
Yeah, all looks good.
okay.
So do we want to, we need a vote to give him,
I don't think so.
Okay.
You'll have to approve the project when it's done.
yep, but he can go ahead and post the RFP.
Okay,
The
Awesome.
only thing you could do, if you want to go ahead and make the contract up and have it as part of the RFP, we could do that, and that way we don't have to negotiate anything afterwards because all bought out. It'll take a few days to do that.
okay.
I don't know how quickly are you wanting to post it.
I mean, I guess that's up to you guys really.
So we're looking to utilize ARPA, so obviously the sooner the better, to get a contract.
Yeah, so I mean, could still be this week.
Yeah. Awesome,
That's good.
sounds good.
Nice.
Thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
And I was gonna ask if you guys wanted to go over stuff that I was discussing.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this morning.
Oh,
So there's those other ARPA projects that we're looking to see if we should do those with ARPA or not. There were a couple,
We were talking about the server updates
right?
and the CIC.
So while we were doing the server, or while we were looking into the server update for CIC, we asked our vendor to also look at what we should go with in terms of like if we were to do the entire server stack. So between these four, so the ones for CIC, there's one that's a yearly cost. Essentially what this one is it updates the CIC server and the SQL server. But it's a yearly cost, so what that means is year by year, we pay for that license. And then when a new update comes out, we automatically get that. And so we just continue paying that year by year. It is a little more expensive.
May I ask a question on that?
Mhm.
So how do they guarantee how often they update? Because one of the things, historic conversations was, well, they've been telling us for 3 years they're gonna do this update at their CIC conference, but then it
Mhm.
never happened. So,
Well, this is kind of agnostic from CIC.
okay,
But it's just, it's the underlying requirement for their software that they're telling us that we need to update.
okay, got it.
So, yeah, CSC is gonna end up coming in and reinstalling the data, removing the database, migrating that database to this new server.
Okay.
So I don't know that there's gonna be any new software from them. It's just that they're requiring us to update that server.
Next question, if CIC was not our provider, it's universal. So the server would be with
Yeah.
whatever
If we,
platform we
if we moved
had.
to a different platform and they had a server-side component that we hosted, this would work for that.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, it's $6,000 annually for that, or we do the outright cost, of 15,000. And generally, Windows servers, after 5 years is when they want you to update to the newest version. And then you have 10 years to complete that transition. So, if we purchased a server in 2022, they're gonna have updates, they're gonna stop providing feature updates in 2027. But they're gonna give you till 2020 or 2032 to be fully off of 2022.
Okay, so let me just add. CIC, or sorry, so the annual cost would be 6,000 a year for updates where you pay the annual membership, you get the updates as they come.
Mhm.
Versus outright of 15,000, and that includes 5 years of updates. And beyond that, they still give you an opportunity for another 5 years to be able to update.
Mhm.
Okay,
And you continue to get updates during those 10 years.
Okay,
So
so unless I'm missing something, what would the outright seems to be a better,
yeah, if it were,
Okay.
if it were the year that it released,
Yeah.
it would probably be better to do that.
Mhm.
But the outright's probably how it would go right now, because right now
It seems like
we're,
more.
we're 2 years into that 5-year cycle already, so.
So the 2022 was part, like the dead date for the 5-year cycle.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because 2019 is what we're on right now, and it's already passed actually this year, so we're in that extended support cycle now.
Okay,
And then if we were to do the entire county, all the servers that run the county, it's perpetual yearly license. That first one is $7,800. And then the outright purchasing for all 3 of our hosts, our virtual hosts, is $32,000 for the outright purchase.
So 7,800 per year versus 32, it's 7,800 for how many years?
It's perpetual. It's just a year after
So it's
year
a
after
fixed-
year.
It is a fixed cost, though.
Mhm.
and so 1 would be 15 outright, 3 would be 32 outright.
Yeah, correct.
So essentially, we're getting. And these all would have that start date of 2022 with a change in 2027. So we need to renew this again, an outright cost in 2027.
And we do have, unless we have a vendor that requires us like C.S.A. to update, we can kind of stagger those too.
Oh.
I mean, this is kind of, yeah, C.S.A. is just kind of the catalyst for us looking at doing this, so.
Okay. So if we do the 3 hardware switch replacements that we talked about this morning that are very overdue, those were 9,000 each. So EMS, road and bridge, solid waste.
And I'm wanting to say, I mean, if I need to, I can use my budget for that.
Okay,
And I'm just trying to figure out which, I mean, I'm really trying to figure out which projects are a good fit for ARPA, and if we should use ARPA for them or not, or if I should just make sure I budget for that for next year or years from now, so.
I definitely like the outright costs. And if you need 3 virtual hosts to do the one that saves you almost a whole host,
Yeah.
I mean,
And I can send these off to you so you can have a better look at them.
When do you need to have a decision?
This one, I've already got to renew the quote on, because we quoted these in January, and quotes are usually only good for 30 days. So really any time on this, I do need to have somewhat of a decision on to do CIC's server here in a month or so, I believe.
okay. So maybe you and Mark could get your heads together on what your budget can allow.
Mhm.
And then let us know if the switch replacements or the virtual server. I like the thought of utilizing ARPA for these projects, because these are like a one-time house cleaning, get you up
Squared
to,
away.
yeah, squared away. And then the budget is nice to use for some of these costs that will be perpetual, like in years, so we can kind of look at what that timeline looks like if it.
Right. And some of these things are like, you're moving from capital to contractual type of deal, so.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, look at us, we're back on time. 12 o'clock, Pat Henderson, County Counselor, purchase order approval, tax sale abstract.
On Friday, I got back the first 49 parcels for the next tax sale, the abstracting work done on them. By contract, it was at $125 a piece, so purchase orders for $6,125. We still have maybe half a dozen more track that will be added.
those were ones that we had some research that we needed to do to make sure. It looks like several of those will be added. But anyway, this is the purchase order for where things stand at this time.
Okay, so I would look for a motion to approve the purchase order as presented from our county counselor to O'Keefe Wilson Abstracting in the amount of $6,125. It's for 49 parcels at $125 each. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. There we go. Probably 5 minutes. till Joe will be here, so I'll do this for us during the meeting.
About 3 days. So we go ahead.
That's all about the time.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how we can sort of purchase.
Will Snyder, Road and Bridge Superintendent, purchase order approval, Schwab.
There's gonna be 3 of them. So the first one is Schwab Eaton in the amount of $15,463.59. And that was the original proposal for deck repairs and professional services on the repairs on M.0 26.4.
This Independence Creek.
Yes,
Okay. We not do that one yet? This is like the original.
This
This
is
is
the-
what the insurance.
well, this is. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the original part of ours, so
Okay, so I'd look for a motion to approve the purchase order as presented from our road and bridge superintendent. That will come out of professional fees, road and bridge to Schwab Eaton, $15,463.59 for bridge, rail construction and deck repairs. For N.O-26.4, also known as Independent Creek Bridge.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0.
the second one for Schwab Eaton is for the structures under 20 feet evaluations and inspections for $10,107, and it also comes out of professional fees. And I haven't signed those either. I'll have to do that also. You're the one that couldn't.
Busted.
Thanks. You've been in my office.
You keep
What's today?
it back again.
28th?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so on this one, this is an annual inspection of structures under
It's
20 biannual.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would look for a motion to approve the purchase order as presented from Road and Bridge Superintendent out of professional fees for $10,107. How many structures is this? Because it just says structures under 20 foot.
I believe
evaluation.
there's 90 or 91.
90 or 91. Okay. Structures under 20 foot evaluations and inspections. I have a motion to approve. And this has already taken place?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
So these would be all the bridges that we call bridges, little plank bridges that are under 20 feet. And then large box culverts. If they're under 20 feet, they're considered a culvert, not a bridge.
So,
Just so everybody understands, we have a lot more culverts out there than that. But these would be like your little 18 feet plank bridge.
Yeah.
Anything under 20 feet is considered a culvert.
and these are the ones that we can alter to a culvert without
Some
going
of-
through all the hoops
Some
of
of them,
engineering.
yes.
Okay,
Depends upon the acres drained.
okay. So like not,
So, but there's
90 to
there's
94.
not, yes, I believe it's 90 willing, but
are those on our GIS map?
yes,
So we can look at just under 20 of where they. fit
yes,
in
I
the
believe
county?
they are on there. If they're not, we're getting everything there. And as we inspect culverts, all of our other culverts, we're putting them on the GIS map.
Awesome.
And this last one is Schwab Eaton for $28,527.35 comes out of special highway. This money was set aside for engineering design and the right of way acquisition. It's just basically them measuring the right of way so we can acquire what we need for Bridge 290. On 314th Road, going back to the Lewis Clark Walk Bridge and the Indian hut structure.
Okay, I have a couple questions on this. Did we have this engineering estimate? Prior?
Yes,
Okay,
it's within a few $100s of what I had budgeted in special highway for it.
okay, because when you had sent us all the information last night, the gentleman from Schwab Eaton had said on the 15th. That it seems we already submitted this application back in February, and so they attached an additional application. So I was just making sure we're only being charged for
Yeah, yeah.
one, correct?
Yes, as far as I know, yes.
Okay. All right, so I would look for a motion to approve purchase order as presented from the Road and Bridge Superintendent out of Special Highway in the amount of $28,527.35 for engineering, design, and right-of-way acquisition on Bridge 290.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, so last week, they had the Kansas County Highway Association meeting at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. Monday, I enrolled one of our foreman, Ryan Hanshaw, in a new supervisor's class for him to get training. He took 2 pages of notes. He really enjoyed it, felt like he was there all day. He really enjoyed it. Emily and I and Ryan then attended the other 2 days. Very good networking, got to talk to other counties having the same issues we do. One of the topics brought up in one of the classes was solutions to maintaining gravel roads in Iowa. And the same product that we are getting ready to apply on Cheyenne Road was one of the top products that people are using. So I just wanted to, and they went through how all that works and explained all that. They had what's coming in CDL pre-trip. So that affected all three of us. Very good conference again. Just kind of trying to report on that we are, as it's close to home, we are getting something out of what we're going to. So just wanted to touch on that. Now, what we talked about earlier, if you guys are comfortable talking about this in the open meeting. So I gave Roger the information, they laid this out, the red stripe line is what we're trying to acquire on Bridge 290 on 314th Rip.
Sorry, I'm pulling up the letter. So this amount matches what the letter sent from our
Yes,
engineer on. May
yes, I gave
24th.
him the drawings from them.
Okay,
He was, Emily forwarded to him just a little bit ago. So that's what we're looking to try to,
proposal has been revised. So additional right of way of 0.68 acres is needed. And the original right of way was. I'm just trying to get my bearings.
we just had
Sorry.
we just had a rough estimate at the very beginning.
Okay.
Until they,
We came and said, hey, we need right of way of this rough estimate.
this is, yes,
And then they
Right.
were very willing in a
Yes.
conversation to do that.
correct.
And so then when okay, this is good, this is receptive, we went back to the drawing board to get actuals.
So
And
then we applied for the grant. We got the grant. We've started with the process. This has to be under bid by December 13th, I believe it is. And we started moving forward, and then we started, it's been taking quite a while to get this accomplished, and we really haven't gotten any further than where we are right now. An email was sent out with an offer, which you guys have a copy of, Friday. And then the response was asking about other situations in other parts of the county.
Which I'm not comfortable with. I think that when we're talking about bridge replacements. We're talking about bridge replacements. When we're talking about right of way, we're talking about the right of way at hand. Not, can you do me a favor at this farm down the road in order to accomplish this? So,
Correct, and the offer that was made, we haven't been told yes or no.
Okay.
It was left unanswered. And then the other conditions or other things they wanted to talk about. They're wanting to do next week, and we're getting down here to the last minute to get everything accomplished. All of the permits and all of that, it's the K.S.A project. They were requesting copies of those. That all has to happen before we can have the bridge, so we will have those in hand before the bridge. We have a checklist that you have to go through, us and the engineer does it, and as they go through, that's checked off. They know what has to be done, and it's done by that time, so.
So I just want to summarize this for my own good to understand the process, because I haven't been through this since a commissioner. I know that historically, kind of the same thing happened where supposedly there's right of way. So we know this bridge is failing, and we got cost share, and we got money to replace the bridge.
And there's no other way around.
Uh,
I want everybody to understand, there
So-
is no way around to the other side, the three houses and the Lewis and Clark walk bridge, historical society.
Right.
We can't put a shoe fly in the creek. We would spend almost half of what the bridge would cost to try to put it in the same place.
Okay.
So we all felt, because I brought it and we all talked about it, the best way is to put a bridge beside the bridge. And then
Right.
when we're done, remove the old bridge and put everything back as it needs to be.
Yep.
So we really are out of options on what we can do.
So from the county standpoint, we're selecting our bridge based on the criteria of the bridge. This is failing. There's
Yes,
3 people that live there that have one way in, one way out. This has been a priority. We have to do it. So we apply for funding, we get it prior to right away
Acquisition.
acquisition. So this is our project. These are the criteria. We have to do it. Then we go to the landowners that are on the sides and say, okay, here's what we need in order to accomplish putting this bridge in,
mhm,
and then offer them this value based on fair market
value.
value. So when it says the existing right of way, so this is our county road,
Mhm,
we have road records showing our right of way.
Yep.
And because of this bridge placement next to our old bridge to allow people access in and out,
right.
we have to shift 5 feet south. To
Yeah.
have,
So if you look at these,
I just want to make
these
sure. I
yellow,
understand.
these yellow lines.
Yep,
There's these yellow lines are the right of way
Okay.
as it is right now,
okay,
where it's supposed to be. So they're very close. These other lines are property lines coming in here.
Yep.
Like that. So that's where the right of way is. This is where the road is. And here is the piece we need to,
okay. So the letter we emailed him on Friday, the existing 3/14 right of way boundary has been shifted 5 feet south.
yes, because it was, and what they had done, it was in the wrong place. So they shifted it. It's in line with this.
With what we have.
Yes,
Okay. The proposed north right of way boundary has been revised to match our close to construction limits, which we didn't know
Right,
till
so-
we do the
so
design.
what we had done is they had drawn up, the engineers drew up the construction limits, and then we were asked if we could make them any narrower. To trim it down, so they trimmed it down.
Okay,
The engineer did,
and then the additional right of way necessary for our bridge now.
and the roads. Because the road's gonna, the road's gonna tie in here, and then over here it's gonna tie back into here. This is what we need,
0.68 acres.
yes,
The county will repair any erosion occurring on the south roadside ditch and make improvements to prevent for future erosion after our project's done, which
Right.
is leave it how it should be left, basically.
right,
Okay. And so typically this goes out in a letter form, and then they have so long to respond to us. I mean, the letter ends in your timely response is necessary, so,
well, and he's already responded
yeah.
from that. But he didn't,
From Friday?
yes, but he didn't answer,
He didn't answer
yeah,
the questions, but he's.
you don't have it,
No, I have the
I'm
picture,
sorry.
I have the letter that you forwarded this morning from Friday, but it just says external, it doesn't have any. So what was the response?
Well, the response was asking about, we should maybe go into executive session if we're gonna talk about.
Sorry, that would be
I
great.
would like for that.
That would be great.
If we can do that.
Okay, so attorney-client, how long?
10 or 15 minutes, probably.
15,
20.
Let's go 20.
20?
Go 20.
So how did the other project ever be brought? That was just there? Like, hey, let me ask? I mean, because, right, if you don't ask, you don't know, like trying to get something else.
Just 3 commissioners and Joe.
And Pat,
Okay, no, yeah. I did it this time. Okay, I'll move the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 12:19 PM for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session in 20 minutes in the commission room courthouse basement, and those present will be the 3 commissioners, road and bridge superintendent, and county counselor.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We will go into executive session. Okay, we are back in open session. We had scheduled budget workshop with Brian Oswald, Facility and Maintenance Director, at 12:30. We have an executive session scheduled at 1:45. Does anyone know how long? Hey, we're gonna recess into budget workshop. I guess we just do an out. Then we'll come back in the 1:41. You guys good with that? Okay. I'd look for a motion to adjourn into budget workshop with Brian Oswald, Facility and Maintenance Director. Have a motion to,
So move.
Second.
okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye, we do budget workshop for the next hour. Thank you. All right, we are back in open session. We have about a 3-minute break before 4 to 5 minute executive session.
You don't need me for that.
No, with HR.
I have a meeting at 3 at Road and Bridge, so I'll just see you guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, This. Thank you.
I'll stop by before I leave.
Okay. Internal.
Pause before we keep going.
Like you said. But,
It's just gonna check for you to see if we were standing.
I did.
Yeah, we had an interview at 1.
Right, so I'm sure it's okay, but it's just weird that we got this,
Yeah.
so.
So I want to eat some, just so that you're aware.
Okay.
Non-elected personnel. The executive session, non-elected personnel.
I'm not for sure.
Sorry, what was that?
Non-elected personnel or,
Yeah, that's what I think it said.
and how long?
Thank you.
Is it about a staff member?
Yeah.
Okay, so non-elected 45 minutes. You said 30 to 45. We usually
I know.
err on this side of,
Take or not. It leads into a individual, but.
okay. So I'm just saying, rather than bounce out and come back for your minutes and all the things.
How
Okay,
I would go until 2:30, 45 minutes.
45 minutes. So let me ask a question before we pop in. We approve the expenses. Oh, I guess you can't, because you gotta come back out. Never mind. I answered my own question in my head. Thank you.
I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 1:45 PM to discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A 75-4319B1. And that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee, and that the board come out of executive session in 45 minutes in the commission room of the courthouse basement. And those present will be the 3 commissioners, HR, county counselor, and appraiser.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye, passes 3. Okay.
Thank you.
We are back in open session. Any other unfinished business that we have? We talked about the door this morning, being none. County councilor updates?
No, I don't.
Okay. Approval of the expenses. Did you guys have a chance?
Yes.
Okay, I passed them. I was like, I know I looked at
I would
it.
like to approve the expenses.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. This is 3-0. Public comment. Seeing none. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Passes. Yes.
It has one, they got an update.
Oh, I had one last time.
Yeah, that's.